What if I told you the guy who just pulled up in a 2012 Honda Civic has more money than the one stepping out of that brand new Mercedes? I'm serious. Last month I sat next to a man at a coffee shop wearing a faded polo shirt and beaten up sneakers. We got talking. Turns out, he just sold his company for $47 million. Meanwhile, my neighbor who drives a Range Rover and wears a Rolex, he's drowning in debt, 3 months behind on his mortgage, living one paycheck from collapse. Here's the thing that'll mess with your head. Real millionaires don't look like millionaires. They look boring, forgettable, ordinary, and that's exactly how they want it. Today, I'm exposing 7 signs someone is secretly wealthy, but you'd never guess it just by looking at them. These aren't your typical they read books or they wake up early cliches. These are psychological patterns so counterintuitive that they'll make you question everyone you thought was successful. And if you stick around to the end, I'll reveal the one thing every undercover millionaire does that broke people think is absolutely crazy. If you've ever felt pressured to look successful, hit that subscribe button and comment "Real Wealth" right now, because what you're about to learn, it changes everything. Let's start with the most shocking sign. Sign number 1, they drive old, paid-off cars. Alright, here's where things get weird. You see someone pull up in a 2015 Toyota Camry with a dent in the door and your brain automatically goes, yeah, they're probably struggling. Meanwhile, the guy in the $90,000 BMW with the temporary tags, you assume he's killing it. You've got it completely backwards. Let me blow your mind for a second. Warren Buffett, literally one of the richest humans on planet Earth, drove the same Cadillac for years, not because he couldn't afford better, but because he understood something most people never will. Your car is not an investment. It's a depreciating liability that loses value the second you drive it off the lot. Here's what's really happening. Broke people see cars as status symbols. That's $6,000 a year. If you drove a paid-off car instead and invested that $500 monthly in an index fund averaging 10% returns, in 10 years you'd have over $77,000. In 20 years, over $380,000. That's the difference between retiring early and working until you're 70. Let me tell you a quick story. There was a janitor who worked at a gas station his entire life, wore the same jacket for decades, drove a beat-up truck. When he died, everyone expected him to have nothing. He left behind $8 million. Sign number 2, they never seem rushed. They move slowly. Have you ever noticed how broke people are? Always in a rush, always stressed, always running late, always grinding, always so busy they can't breathe. Meanwhile, the actual millionaire, they're moving like they've got all the time in the world, calm, present, never flustered. Here's what's happening that most people completely miss. When you're broke, you don't control your time. Your bills control your time. You're reactive. You're scrambling, you're hustling just to survive. But when you're wealthy, you own your calendar. You move with intention, not desperation. And ironically, that slow, deliberate pace accomplishes more than frantic chaos ever could. The ancient Stoics had this phrase, festina lente, make haste slowly. Benjamin Franklin lived by it. He wasn't rushing around like a maniac. He was strategic, deliberate, and focused. And he became one of the wealthiest and most accomplished men in American history. Not by being the busiest, by being the most intentional. Here's the brutal truth. Being busy has become a status symbol for broke people. They wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. I'm so busy. Translation: I have no control over my life. Wealthy people aren't impressed by your busy schedule. They're impressed by your results. And results come from focus, not frenzy. Let me give you something practical. Wealthy people schedule white space. Sign number 3. They actually ask about prices, not to flex. Okay, this one's going to hurt some egos, so, buckle up. You know that person at dinner who waves their hand dismissively and says, "Don't worry about the price, get whatever you want." Yeah, they're probably maxing out credit cards in the bathroom. Meanwhile, the actual millionaire at the table, they're asking the waiter, "What's the best value on the menu?" Here's what blows people's minds. Wealthy people didn't get wealthy by pretending money doesn't matter. They got wealthy by respecting every single dollar. Like it's a soldier in their wealth army. There's this famous story about John D. Rockefeller, one of the richest men in American history, who once argued with a vendor over a 5-cent overcharge. 5 cents. The man was worth hundreds of millions, but he knew something broke people don't. It's not about the 5 cents. It's about the principle. The Bible says in Proverbs, a wise man counts the cost. Not a broke man. A wise man, because wisdom isn't about having money or not having money. It's about respecting money regardless of how much you have. That respect doesn't disappear when you get wealthy. It intensifies. Sign number 4. They wear the same clothes over and over. Here's something that'll make you uncomfortable. That person you know who wears basically the same outfit every day, they might be secretly loaded. Meanwhile, your friend with a different designer outfit for every Instagram post, probably broke. Let me explain. Steve Jobs wore the same black turtleneck and jeans every single day. New outfit for the party, new shoes for the event, different looks for every occasion because they need people to think they're doing well. So, they spend hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands on clothes they'll wear once. Meanwhile, the actual millionaire has like 10 versions of the same shirt, and couldn't care less what you think about it. There's this concept in minimalism, and honestly, wealthy people figured this out long before minimalism was even trendy. Your closet should not be a museum of who you used to be or who you wish you were. It should be a uniform for who you are right now. Simple, functional, repeatable. So, here's your assignment. Create your uniform. Pick, 3 to 5 outfits you feel great in and just rotate them. That's it. Stop shopping for variety. Stop chasing trends. Stop trying to impress people with your wardrobe. I promise you the mental freedom you'll get from not thinking about clothes will be worth way more than the compliments you think you're missing. Let me tell you something that really changed my perspective. I once asked a multi-millionaire why he wore the same polo shirt in different colors every day. Sign number 5, they live in regular neighborhoods. Alright, here's where people's brains kind of explode. You drive through a fancy gated community with million-dollar homes, perfectly manicured lawns, luxury cars in every driveway, and you think that's where the rich people live. Wrong. That's where the broke people pretending to be rich live. The actual millionaires, they're in a regular 3-bedroom house in a middle-class neighborhood, and honestly, you'd drive right past them without a second thought. Here's what's happening. There's this phenomenon called house poor. People buy the biggest house they can possibly afford. Actually, more than they can afford because, well, they need the address to validate their success, so they're living in an $800,000 house with a $6,000 monthly mortgage, no savings, no investments, eating ramen in their granite countertop kitchen. Meanwhile, the guy down the street in the $250,000 house, he's got $2 million in his portfolio and sleeps like a baby every night. There's a biblical parable about this. The rich fool guy keeps building bigger barns to store his wealth, super proud of himself showing off. Then he dies that night. Sign number 6, they're generous with small things, cheap with big things. This one messes with people's heads more than any other sign. Watch closely. A secretly wealthy person will tip the waitress 30%, buy coffee for the person behind them in line, donate to their friend's GoFundMe without hesitation, and then refuse to buy a $100,000 car. To broke people, this looks insane. You just tipped $50, but you won't upgrade your phone. Yes, because they understand something you don't. Here's the principle. Wealthy people are generous where it impacts real human beings and ruthless where it's just keeping up with appearances. They'll help a single mom with her rent. They'll pay for their nephew's college textbooks. They'll donate to causes they believe in. But buy a luxury SUV to impress neighbors? Absolutely not. That's not about people. That's about ego. There's a biblical story called the widow's mite. A poor widow gives 2 small coins, all she has, while rich people are throwing in big amounts they won't miss. Jesus says the widow gave more because she gave from her need, not her excess. The point? Generosity isn't about the amount. It's about the heart behind it. Wealthy people get this. They give where it matters. Sign number 7, they take boring vacations or no vacation. Here's the one that'll make people absolutely lose their minds. Scroll through Instagram right now. What do you see? Maldives, Dubai, Bali, Paris, everyone's on some exotic beach or European adventure living their best life. And your brain goes, man, they must be doing really well. Let me tell you something that'll shatter that illusion. Most of those people are financing their vacation on credit cards that they can't pay off. They're going into debt for likes. Meanwhile, the actual millionaire, they're at a state park with their family camping in a tent and couldn't be happier. I'm not making this up. Sam Walton, the guy who built Walmart into an empire, one of the richest men in America, used to take vacations in his old pickup truck, camping, fishing, nothing fancy, nothing Instagram-worthy. And when people asked why he didn't fly first class to the French Riviera, he'd look at them like they were crazy. Why would I do that when I'm perfectly happy here? Here's what Marcus Aurelius figured out 2,000 years ago. He said, luxury travel is just carrying yourself around. You're taking all your problems, all your stress, all your issues with you. A beach in Tahiti doesn't fix what's broken inside. It just puts a pretty filter on it for a week. Then you come home and reality hits twice as hard. Plus, you're $15,000 deeper in debt. Wealthy people vacation for restoration, not performance. They go to family cabins, they visit national parks, they have stations, not because they can't afford Santorini but because they don't need external validation from strangers on the internet. So, there you have it, 7 signs someone is secretly wealthy, but you'd never guess it just by looking. Here's the truth that should shake you awake. Wealth whispers, broke screams. The richest people you'll ever meet look like the most boring, ordinary, forgettable people in the room, and that's exactly their strategy. Here's what I need you to do. Look around this week. Notice who's not trying to impress you. The person in the old car, the regular clothes, the modest house. Don't assume they're struggling. They might be the smartest person you know. If these 7 signs describe you or someone you know, comment undercover millionaire right now and hit that subscribe button, because next week I'm revealing what secretly wealthy people actually spend their money on that broke people think is completely wasteful. Remember this. Stop trying to look rich. Start being rich. Nobody who matters is keeping score of your car, your clothes, or your vacation posts. Your bank account is the only scoreboard that counts. See you at the next one.